SHINE has made the most enormous impact on bringing to light the needs of these children, and the expansion that has been undertaken in their work since I've been associated with them, which is since the 1980s when they first started. It makes the most enormous difference to the fact that these children can maintain a relationship with the mother and the father. SHINE actually does these days of taking children into prisons to have a whole day with the father, for instance. I mean, some of these blokes have never had that kind of really structured, careful relationship with the child. And it just has positive consequences for everyone concerned. Well, I've been interested for a long time in policies affecting women and children. And in the 1980s, I was the Deputy Chair of the Women in Prison Task Force Report. And at the time that I became Chair of the Social Issues Committee in the Legislative Council, I was able to get a reference to look at the children of imprisoned parents, which has been an extraordinary experience, because while concentrating on women offenders, you learn about the number of them who have children. And then looking further into the situation of children, what you really learn is that the government and society is not prepared to acknowledge their existence. They're totally innocent of any involvement in any offending behaviour, and yet as a consequence of their mothers' and fathers' offending behaviours, they suffer terribly, and they're ignored in the policy sense generally. So it's been something that I've felt quite strongly about for a long time. So it's the failure of governments and the society to recognise the long-term impact on children of incarcerating their parents. And as far as I'm concerned, most of the offences, particularly of women, that of course that's been I'm mostly been interested in, they're non-violent offences usually. They're offences relating to poverty, really, poverty or addiction. And it's the same thing that used to let women into prison, a century ago. Uneducated, poor, unemployed, and in those days it was gin. And in recent years it's been heroin and other very damaging drugs. Helen Wiseman has been spectacularly interested in and involved in encouraging people in the corporate sector to be involved. So we have these lunches out in the prison. A lot of people, of course, have never been inside the prison boundaries, and they're quite an experience for them. And of course, so Helen conducts it's a lunch, but it's like a forum, explaining to people what the work of SHINE is about and why we're involved. And so there's been quite a bit of positive result coming from that. When I feel discouraged about the extent to which this group of children is ignored, when there's so much agreement in society these days about the importance of child growth and development. Infants, for example, who would think it would be a decent thing to do to separate a baby from a mother? But this happens in the prisons. And the authorities give their reasons for doing this separation. One thing that I find absolutely unacceptable is that the health authorities, when I have challenged the fact that mothers and babies are separated, say for detoxing purposes, their response is that the babies are not their clients. The consequences of actually the trauma of separation of a young child, particularly a baby, from the mother, is recognised in society generally. Why isn't it recognised in prisons? So when you're asking me about why I'm happy to be with SHINE, when I get despondent about this sort of lack of understanding and compassion, then SHINE gives me great heart, because they're actually in there doing things day after day, and they're just going from strength to strength.